I am an avid runner. I run every race as hard as I can. I love being on the team. But there was one race in which I was not happy with what I placed. Not at all. And as soon as I crossed that finish line, I expressed my concern to my friend. And she spoke 4 words that really got me thinking. She said, "Winning is not everything." But you see, to a certain extent, winning is everything. And yes, there are many circumstances in which it's okay to lose, and it's okay to simply pass. But this cannot become a habit. But ladies and gentlemen, this has become a habit, and it is this habit that has removed our drive to win. In other words, we no longer have competitiveness. And without this competitiveness, we can no longer move forward, which is why we need to get it back. So we'll start by taking our places at the starting line, as we look at some of the causes as to why we lost that drive. Then we'll take off running as we look at some of the effects that this deadly mentality can have. And lastly, we'll proudly hold up our first place trophies as we look at some simple solutions that can help us get us back into that winning mentality. So we take our places at the starting line as we ask ourselves the question, why did we lose our competitiveness in the first place? Why do we no longer think that winning is everything? Well, according to Kevin Helliker, an editor for the Wall Street Journal, this issue is only in our generation. In his article entitled "The Slowest Generation," he states that young runners are coming into the running world with less concern about time and place, and more about just finishing the race. And while this is an okay mentality to have for amateur runners, for runners who want to develop, this is a habit that must be broken. In his article, a 54-year-old competitive runner and spokesperson for Running USA, Ryan Lampa, states that the way our generation is being brought up is a major factor in our lack of drive to win. He states the young runners are coming from a background in which everybody wins and everybody receives a trophy. For example, in the movie Parental Guidance, the grandfather goes to watch his grandchild's Little League baseball game. And in the middle of the game, he asks the umpire, "What's the score?" And the umpire responds with, "We don't keep score. Every game ends in a tie." You see, this is the exact thing that children are growing up with nowadays. And when little kids come out of their world in which they are constantly winning and are put into a formal competition, they have no idea what winning and losing actually feels like. But then you have people like Robert Johnson, founder of Let'sRun.com, who states if you're going to get the same praise for a 4-hour marathon than you are for a 3-hour marathon, why kill yourself training? This quote is just further proof of another reason why we lost that drive to win. Laziness. We are getting lazier and lazier to work hard and to be the best that we can be. Because let's face it, you're not going to reach your goal overnight. For all the girls out there, you're not going to suddenly get a really fast smile by watching a whole season of Gossip Girl in just one sitting. And for the guys, neither are you if you're going to play Assassin's Creed until your eyes fall out. Trust me, I've tried both methods. And you see, the causes for this lack of drive to win are not specifically limited to sports and athletics, but also extend to other areas such as academics and businesses and corporations. We've seen some causes as to why we no longer want to win. But what are the effects? Boom! The pistol sounds and we're off. According to Kurt Mango, author of the book Becoming a True Champion, there are 3 areas in which a lack of competitiveness truly affects. First, mentally. According to his book, there are 5 main skills that a person will not develop without the competitive ability. First, he says, goal setting. You see, goal setting is an essential part in living life in the real world. It gives a sense of direction. It shows a place in the future where one wants to someday be. Perseverance and determination. Because a competitive person is constantly in situations in which they're always challenged. And with these challenges comes a test of perseverance and determination. Desire and inner will. Because however much someone wants to achieve their goal, is directly proportionate to the amount of desire that they have to do it. Character. Because the hope is that someday the competitive person will make the right choices and develop a solid code of ethical standards to live by. And lastly, coping skills. Because no matter how good someone gets at what they do, they will always fail. But it's how they deal with these failures, how they cope, that will determine future positive outcomes. And without these skills, the average person will turn into a cold shell of their former selves, something that we like to define as teenagers. The second area that this lack of competitiveness affects, socially. Without the competitive ability, people who originally participated heavily will become social outcasts because they no longer share their team's drive to win. Especially for athletes who play on team sports or people who work in groups. No competitiveness will result in bad teamwork and terrible friendships. And teamwork and friendships are both necessary for living life. The last area that this lack of competitiveness affects, intellectually. Because loss of competitiveness is directly impactful to loss of academic performance. In a test given to fourth graders all around the world by the Program of International Student Assessments, American fourth graders ranked 24th out of 40 countries in reading, math, and science. However, American fourth graders ranked first in the belief that they outdid everybody else. We've seen some causes and we've seen some effects as to what this deadly mentality can really have. But how can we fix this? By now, I hope all of you realize what a big problem this lack of competitiveness is getting to be. Otherwise, I truly failed in my speech today. And by now, I hope you realize that I don't like to lose. Serena Cow, a writer for HeySuccess.org, gives us 3 simple steps to get us back into that winning mentality. First, she says, determine your gold medal. Set your sights on a goal. Never give up. Whether that goal may be to run a really fast mile in the future, get a high score in Assassin's Creed, or get that A on the test next week. Next, she says to trick your brain. According to Scott Weddle, a psychologist at Duke University, the human brain isn't wired to take on such big goals at a time. You have to trick it by starting at your one big goal and working backwards. Map a route and plant little milestones along the way to your one big goal in mind. Lastly, and most importantly, she says to put in the work. In other words, don't procrastinate. Procrastination, something that keeps kids my age alive. The teacher thinks I got an A on that project because I put in so much effort, but I got an A on that project because I realized last night it was due. But in this case, procrastination doesn't work. It takes focus and practice to reach your goal. In fact, according to Malcolm Gladwell, author of the book Outliers, it takes 10,000 hours of this focused practice for any athlete, musician, or any other type of competitor to reach their one true goal. You know, that's 4 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks in a year, and 7 years. So you better get cracking. You also need to realize that many times the difference between winning and losing is not by very much. For example, in the 2012 London Olympics, Usain Bolt became the fastest man on the planet by running the 100-meter dash in 9.58 seconds. However, the man who came in last place ran the 100-meter dash in 11.99 seconds. So the difference between first and last, between winning and losing, was a mere 2.41 seconds. But those 2.41 seconds made the world of a difference. So, we've seen some causes as to why we no longer want to win. We've seen some effects that this deadly mentality can have, and most importantly, we've seen some solutions that, if used, can help put us back into that winning mentality. So the next time my friend tells me, hey, winning isn't everything, I'm going to remind her that when I race, I'm in it to win it. Thank you.